3 months after the forest encounter, Daeho woke up at 5:15 in the morning just like always. His small apartment looked the same, but everything else in his life had changed completely. The window blinds were special, now made of material that blocked alien scanning technology. 2 government agents lived in the apartment next door to protect him. He still worked as a software engineer, but now his company was part of a secret government program to develop Earth's defenses. His boring, job-writing computer code had become classified military work, helping to build systems that could detect alien ships. The bathroom mirror showed the same ordinary face, but now that face was known across the galaxy, alien news broadcasts still showed his picture when they talked about the dangerous humans of Earth. He had become famous in a way he never wanted, and could never escape. Getting dressed was different now too. His running clothes were made from special fabric that could stop energy, weapons. His shoes had tracking devices, so the government always knew where he was. His phone was connected directly to military headquarters in case of emergency. The morning run was still the most important part of his day, but now it was never alone. Agent Kim Soo-jin ran with him every morning. She was a former Olympic athlete who had been assigned to protect him and learn his fighting techniques. The government wanted to understand how an ordinary citizen had defeated trained alien soldiers. Agent Kim was waiting in the hallway when Daeho opened his door. She was tall and athletic, with short black hair and alert eyes. She carried weapons that could stop both human and alien attackers. Her job was to keep Daeho safe and to study everything he did. "Good morning, Mr. Kim," she said with a professional smile. "Are you ready for our run today?" Daeho nodded but did not smile back. He missed running alone with his thoughts. The peace and quiet that had made running special for him was gone now. Everything was complicated and watched and analyzed. They walked through the apartment building together, but now there were security cameras in every hallway. Government technicians monitored the building 24 hours a day. The other residents had been relocated to safer apartments far away from the man who had started an interstellar incident. The street outside was different too. Military vehicles were parked at both ends of the block. Electronic equipment scanned, the sky constantly looking for alien ships. The neighborhood that had been quiet and peaceful was now full of soldiers and scientists and security personnel as they walked toward the forest park. Agent Kim briefed Daeho on the latest intelligence. Reports alien activity around Earth had increased dramatically. Multiple species were sending scout ships to observe human behavior. The Corvani had not returned, but other aliens were very interested in learning more. The Zephyrian Empire sent 3 ships last week, she explained. They stayed far away and just watched. They are being very careful not to get too close after what happened to the Corvani. Daeho felt responsible for all the attention Earth was getting. If he had just run away instead of fighting, maybe the aliens would have left his planet alone. But deep down he knew he could never have run from a fight. It was not in his nature. The forest park entrance now had security gates and guard posts. Scientists had built a research station where the alien ship had landed. The clearing where the fight happened was filled with equipment studying every detail of the encounter. Dr. Lee Min-jun was waiting for them at the research station. He had been studying Daeho for 3 months, trying to understand what made him special. The doctor had tested hundreds of other people, but none of them showed the same combination of skills and instincts. "Mr. Kim," the doctor said, "we have new information from the alien prisoners. The Corvani soldiers have been talking to our linguists. They are very confused about what happened that day. The 6 alien soldiers were being held in a secure facility designed specifically for non-human prisoners. They were treated well and given medical care, but they were not allowed to leave Earth. The government wanted to learn everything possible about alien technology and psychology." "What are they saying?" Daeho asked. Dr. Lee pulled out a tablet computer showing translated interviews with the aliens. "They keep asking how you moved so fast and hit so hard. They think you must be some kind of enhanced super soldier. They cannot believe that ordinary humans are capable of such fighting ability." Agent Kim started their warm-up stretches while she listened to the conversation. The government had ordered her to learn Daeho's fighting style and teach it to military personnel, but so far no one else had been able to replicate what he had done. The problem is that your fighting ability comes from 20 years of training combined with natural instincts, Dr. Lee continued. We can teach people the techniques, but we cannot give them the experience and muscle memory that you have developed. They began running on the forest trails, but now the paths were lined with sensors and cameras. Every step Daeho took was recorded and analyzed by computers. Military strategists were trying to understand how human movement patterns could be so effective against alien technology. As they ran through the trees, Daeho thought about how much his simple life had changed. He could never again be just an ordinary software engineer who liked to run. The entire world was depending on him to help prepare for possible alien invasions. We have been receiving communications from friendly alien species, Agent Kim said as they jogged past the research station. Apparently not all aliens want to conquer Earth. Some of them are impressed by your fight and want to establish peaceful contact. That was good news. At least Daeho had worried that his actions might have made enemies of every alien species in the galaxy. But it seemed that some aliens respected strength and courage, even when it came from a species they had never encountered before. The Altarian Council sent a formal message yesterday, she continued. They want to invite Earth to join a defensive alliance against aggressive species like the Corvani. Your demonstration of human fighting ability has given us credibility in galactic politics. They finished their 5-kilometer run and returned to the research station. Dr. Lee immediately began his daily tests, checking Daeho's heart rate, blood pressure, reflexes, and coordination. The data was sent to laboratories around the world where scientists were trying to develop training programs based on human capabilities. Mr. Kim, Dr. Lee said, we have received approval for the next phase of the project. The military wants you to help train a special unit of soldiers. They will be called the Human Defense Force, and they will specialize in close combat against alien invaders. Daeho had been expecting this request for weeks. The government had been preparing to ask him to become a military instructor. He was not sure he wanted that responsibility, but he understood why it was necessary. How many soldiers, he asked. Agent Kim answered for the doctor. We will start with 50 volunteers from special forces units around the world. They will train here in Korea for 6 months, learning everything you can teach them about fighting. The idea of training other people to fight aliens was both exciting and frightening. Daeho had never thought of himself as a teacher, but he knew his experience was unique. Maybe he could help other humans develop the skills they would need to defend Earth. Later that day, Daeho met with government officials from several countries. The meeting was held in a secure conference room deep underground. The people around the table represented the most powerful nations on Earth, and they all wanted to know the same thing. How do we prepare for the next alien encounter, they asked. Daeho looked around the room at the serious faces staring at him. These were presidents and generals and intelligence chiefs who controlled armies and weapons that could destroy cities. They were all waiting for advice from a software engineer who just wanted to go running. I think we need to remember that we are not as weak as we look, he said finally. The aliens made the mistake of judging us by our peaceful daily lives. They did not understand that humans can be dangerous when we need to be. The American Secretary of Defense leaned forward. What do you think their next move will be? Daeho thought carefully before answering. I think they will be more careful next time. They will send bigger forces and better weapons. They will not underestimate us again. We need to be ready. Over the following weeks, the Human Defense Force began training under Daeho's guidance. Soldiers from around the world came to Korea to learn how to fight aliens with their bare hands. The training was intense, and many volunteers could not complete the program, but those who succeeded became something new. A fusion of traditional martial arts, military tactics, and the unique human ability to adapt and overcome. Every graduate of the program carried within them the same fighting spirit that had defeated the Corvani squad. As the months passed, more alien ships appeared near Earth. Some were scouts gathering intelligence. Others were diplomats wanting to establish peaceful contact. A few were pirates hoping to capture human slaves for sale in alien markets. But none of them tried to land on Earth without permission. The story of the Jogger, who defeated 6 alien soldiers, had spread throughout the galaxy. Earth had gained a reputation as a dangerous world full of unpredictable warriors. Daeho continued his morning runs, but now he ran. knowing that he had changed the course of human history. His simple desire to stay healthy had evolved into something much larger. He had shown the galaxy that humans were not easy prey. Commander Vel 9 sat in his command chair aboard the main Corvani ship, watching the emergency broadcast from Captain Zol 3. The message was impossible to believe. One human had defeated 6 of his best soldiers. This had to be some kind of mistake, or equipment malfunction. The commander was 8 feet tall even sitting down. His forearms were crossed in front of his chest in a gesture that meant deep thought in Corvani culture. He had been leading military campaigns for 30 years and had never lost a battle. He had conquered entire star systems and destroyed civilizations that had fought for centuries. But now he was watching helmet camera footage from his soldiers, and what he saw made no sense. The human moved faster than any creature. That size should be able to move. The human hit harder than seemed physically possible. The human fought with a skill and determination that reminded him of the greatest Corvani warriors. Communications Officer Trell 6 turned from her station commander. "We are receiving reports from other scout ships. The human victory is being confirmed by multiple sources. All 6 soldiers are alive but badly injured. Captain Zol 3 is requesting immediate medical evacuation." The commander activated his personal communicator and connected to the Corvani High Command on their home world. The conversation would be broadcast across space to military leaders throughout the Empire. This was the kind of news that changed everything. "High Command. This is Commander Vel 9 of the Earth Reconnaissance Fleet. I have urgent intelligence about the human species. Our initial assessment was completely wrong. These creatures are far more dangerous than we believed." Fleet Admiral Kex 1 appeared on the main screen. His face showed the deep scars of many battles. His expression was stern and unforgiving. The Admiral had personally overseen the conquest of 15 different worlds. He did not accept failure or excuses. "Explain yourself." "Commander," the Admiral said, his voice cutting through space like a blade. "Your mission was simple. Capture human specimens and prepare for invasion." What could possibly have gone wrong? Commander Vel 9 played the helmet camera footage for the Admiral. The recording showed everything, from the moment Captain Zol 3 first spoke to the human, until the moment the ship lifted off. The Admiral watched in complete silence as one small creature defeated 6 trained soldiers. When the recording ended, the Admiral was quiet for a long time. The bridge of the command ship was filled with tense silence. Every officer was watching their leader process information that challenged everything they knew about warfare and conquest. "This is one human," the Admiral finally said. "One individual creature. How do we know this is representative of their entire species? Perhaps we encountered some kind of enhanced warrior or genetic mutation." Commander Vel 9 had been thinking about the same question. "I have reviewed thousands of hours of human communications and video files." "Admiral, this individual appears to be completely ordinary by human standards. He works at a desk job. He lives alone. He has no military rank or special status." The Admiral leaned forward in his chair, his 4 eyes focused intently on the screen. "If this is an ordinary human, then what are their soldiers like? What are their warriors capable of?" Sir said. "Communications Officer Trell 6. We are receiving transmissions from other alien fleets in this sector. The Zephyrian Empire had been planning their own invasion of Earth. They are requesting copies of our footage." Admiral Kex 1 considered this development. The Zephyrians were old enemies of the Corvani, but they shared intelligence when it benefited both species. "Send them the recordings," he decided. "They need to understand what we are dealing with across the galaxy." The news spread faster than anyone expected. The Zephyrian Fleet Command watched the footage with growing concern. The Zephyrians were smaller than Corvani, but they had advanced energy shields and could move at incredible speeds. If Corvani soldiers could not handle one human, how could anyone else? Fleet Commander Yix Prime of the Zephyrians immediately sent a message to his homeworld. "Cancel all Earth invasion plans immediately. The humans are more dangerous than our intelligence indicated. We need to reconsider our entire approach to this species." The Nexari Empire received the footage next. The Nexari were known throughout the galaxy for their tactical brilliance and advanced weapons technology. They had never lost a battle in 300 years of expansion, but even they were disturbed by what they saw. General Hack Supreme studied the footage with his tactical staff. This human uses primitive fighting techniques but applies them with perfect precision and timing. His physical capabilities exceed our projections by at least 300%. The recording was analyzed by military computers throughout the galaxy. Every species that saw it came to the same conclusion. Humans were far more dangerous than they appeared. The creature in the video looked weak and small, but fought like a demon. Back on Earth, Daeho was sitting in a government building surrounded by officials, doctors, and military officers. The aliens he had fought were unconscious in a secure medical facility. Scientists were studying them while doctors treated their injuries. Agent Park Ji-min from the Korean Intelligence Service was asking Daeho questions about the fight. She was a small woman with short hair and serious eyes. She had been trained to spot lies and inconsistencies, but everything Daeho said matched the physical evidence. "Mr. Kim," she said, "you claim you have no special training beyond basic military service and recreational martial arts. Yet you defeated 6 alien soldiers who were twice your size. How do you explain this?" Daeho shrugged his shoulders. "I do not know," he said honestly. "I just did what felt natural. I have been practicing martial arts since I was a child. Running every day has kept me in good shape. When they threatened me, I defended myself." Dr. Lee Min-jun was a sports scientist who had been called in to examine Daeho. The doctor had run every test he could think of but found nothing unusual. The man's physical condition was excellent but not superhuman. His reflexes were fast but not impossible. His strength was above average but not extraordinary. General Nam Dong-woo was the highest ranking military officer in the room. He had watched the security camera footage from the forest dozens of times. In his 30 years of military service, he had never seen anything like it. Mr. Kim, the general, said, "This incident has changed everything. The entire world now knows that aliens exist and that they consider us a threat. Your actions may have prevented an invasion, but they have also put Earth in danger." Daeho looked confused. "How did I put Earth in danger? I was just defending myself." The general activated a large screen that showed intercepted alien communications from around the galaxy. Words were being translated into Korean in real time. The conversations were all about the same topic: what to do about the dangerous humans of Earth. Some alien species were calling for immediate invasion before humans could develop space travel. Others wanted to study humans from a safe distance. A few were suggesting that Earth should be left alone entirely. The debate was spreading across multiple star systems. Agent Park leaned forward in her chair. "Mr. Kim, you have become famous throughout the galaxy. Every alien civilization now knows about the human who defeated a Corvani squad. Your face is being broadcast on alien news networks." Daeho felt overwhelmed. "I just wanted to go for a run," he said quietly. "I never asked for any of this." Dr. Lee smiled at him. "That is exactly what makes this so remarkable. You did not train for this specific situation. You were not prepared for alien contact. You simply reacted with the skills and instincts you had developed over years of normal life." The general stood up and paced around the room. The aliens thought we were weak prey animals. Instead, they discovered that humans are natural fighters. Every person on Earth has the potential to do what you did. That terrifies them. Outside the building, reporters from around the world were gathered. The story of the alien encounter was the biggest news in human history, but the government was being very careful about what information to release. They did not want to cause panic or give aliens too much information about human capabilities. As night fell, Daeho was finally allowed to go home. He walked through his neighborhood and everything looked the same. But he knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The entire galaxy was now watching Earth and wondering what other surprises humans might have. In his small apartment, Daeho looked out his window at the stars. He had always enjoyed looking at the night sky. But now he knew that some of those stars had planets full of alien beings who were talking about him and his species. Tomorrow he would go running again, just like he had for 10 years. But now he knew that somewhere above the clouds, alien ships might be watching him. The thought was both frightening and strangely exciting. Humans were no longer alone in the universe, and the universe was learning that humans were much more interesting than anyone had expected. Sergeant Cax4 stepped forward first. He was confident this would be over quickly. The human looked so small and weak. How could something so tiny cause any trouble? He had captured dozens of different alien species, and none of them had ever given him problems. This soft-looking creature would be even easier. The alien soldier moved slowly toward Deho. His forearms swayed as he walked. Each arm was as thick as a human leg and covered in natural armor. The sergeant was not even bothering to draw his weapons. He planned to simply grab the human with his bare hands and carry him to the ship. Deho watched the alien approach and felt time slow down the way it always did when he was about to fight. This was something he had learned during his military training. When real danger came, his mind became crystal clear. His senses became sharper. Everything moved slower, giving him time to think and react. The alien reached out with two of his arms to grab Deho around the waist. It was a simple move designed to restrain without causing damage. But Deho was not where the alien expected him to be. In one fluid motion, Deho dropped low and spun to his right. His left leg swept around in a perfect arc. The heel of his running shoe connected with the alien's knee joint right where the armor plates met. The impact made a sound like a tree branch breaking. The alien's scream was unlike anything Deho had ever heard. It was high-pitched and filled with pain and shock. The creature's leg bent in a direction legs were not supposed to bend. The alien crashed to the ground holding his shattered knee with three of his arms. The other 5 aliens stood frozen in complete shock. What had just happened? This was impossible. The human was tiny compared to their soldier. How could he move so fast? How could he hit so hard? Their armor was designed to stop energy weapons and projectiles, not bare human limbs, but Deho was not finished. He had learned long ago that in a fight against multiple opponents, you never stop moving. If you hesitate for even a second, you lose. He was already moving toward the second alien before the first one hit the ground. Lieutenant Vex 7 tried to draw her stunning weapon, but the human was too close, too fast. Deho grabbed a fallen tree branch that was lying near the edge of the clearing. It was about as long as a baseball bat and felt solid in his hands. The alien tried to block with her upper arms, but Deho was not aiming where she expected. He swung the branch low and hard, connecting with her ankle. The armor cracked and she stumbled. Then he reversed direction and brought the branch up, hitting her in the side of her head. Her helmet cracked and she staggered backward, dazed and confused. Deho dropped the branch and moved in close. He grabbed 2 of her arms and used a judo throw he had practiced thousands of times. The alien's greater weight worked against her as Deho used her momentum to flip her over his shoulder. Lieutenant Vex 7 crashed into a tree trunk hard enough to shake leaves from the branches. She slumped to the ground unconscious. Her weapons scattered around her. Corporal Nix, too, roared in anger and charged at Deho with all 4 arms reaching out to crush. The human but Deho had fought angry opponents before anger made people predictable and careless. The alien was strong, but he was not fast. Deho ducked under the grasping arms and came up inside the alien's guard. His right fist connected with the creature's throat in a perfect uppercut. The alien's roar turned into a choking gasp as he stumbled backward. Deho followed up with a series of quick punches to the alien's midsection, where the armor was thinner. His hands were already getting sore from hitting the hard armor, but he ignored the pain. He had learned to fight through pain during his boxing training. The alien tried to grab him, but Deho was too quick. He moved like water flowing around the alien's clumsy attempts to catch him. Every few seconds, he would strike, hitting weak points in the armor or joints where the plates did not protect. Corporal Dex 5 tried to help his partner, but Deho saw him coming. He rolled to the side and swept the alien's legs. The creature was too top-heavy to maintain balance and crashed to the ground. Deho immediately jumped on top of him and began striking pressure points on the alien's neck. The alien's eyes rolled back and he went limp. Deho had learned that technique from his Special Forces training. It worked on humans, and apparently it worked on aliens too. Private Yex 9 was the youngest and least experienced of the squad. He was terrified as he watched this small human defeat soldier after soldier. He tried to run, back to the ship, but Deho was faster. The human caught up to him in 3 quick strides and grabbed the alien's leg, sending him tumbling to the ground. Deho picked up a rock the size of his fist and brought it down on the alien's helmet. The helmet cracked and the alien stopped moving. Captain Zol 3 watched in horror as his entire squad was defeated by one human in less than 5 minutes. This was impossible. Humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to be easy to defeat. Yet, this creature had just destroyed his best soldiers with nothing but his bare hands. The captain activated his emergency beacon, calling for backup from the main ship. He drew his most powerful weapon, a plasma rifle that could destroy a building, but his hands were shaking with fear and shock. Deho turned to face the last alien. He was breathing hard but not exhausted. His running training had given him incredible stamina. His hands were bleeding from hitting the armor, but he ignored the pain. He had fought 6 opponents and won. That was a new personal record even for him. The alien captain raised his weapon but hesitated. He had never felt fear like this before. In 47 planetary conquests, he had never met a creature like this. Human. How could something so small be so dangerous? You should leave now, Deho said in a calm voice. His tone was not threatening or angry. It was simply matter of fact. Tell your friends that Earth is not as easy as you thought. Captain Zol 3 looked, around at his unconscious soldiers, then back at the human who had defeated them. This was supposed to be a simple capture mission. It had turned into a nightmare. His military training told him to fight, but his survival instincts told him to run. The captain slowly lowered his weapon. He activated his communicator and spoke in the Corvani language. Emergency evacuation. All units returned to ship immediately. Mission aborted. Repeat, mission aborted. The alien ship's engines began to hum. The captain backed toward the ship, keeping his eyes on Deho. The human just stood there watching him go. There was no anger in his face, no hatred, just a quiet determination that was somehow more frightening than rage. As the ship lifted off, the captain took one last look at the human who had changed everything. This creature had just defeated an elite Corvani military squad, with nothing but primitive fighting techniques and raw determination. The ship disappeared into the clouds, leaving Deho alone, in the clearing. He looked around at the unconscious aliens scattered on the ground. He pulled out his phone and dialed emergency services. "Hello. I need to report something strange in the forest park," he said when the operator answered. "You are not going to believe this, but I think I just met some aliens." Captain Zol 3 stood inside the alien command center, watching the small human continue his morning run. The Corvani ship floated silently above the forest, completely invisible to human technology. 5 other alien soldiers stood behind their captain, waiting for orders. Each one was 7 feet tall, with 4 powerful arms and thick natural armor covering their blue-gray skin. The captain had been studying Earth for 6 months now. He had watched thousands of hours of human videos and read their internet communications. Humans seemed incredibly weak and fragile. They complained about small amounts of pain. They got tired easily. They spent most of their time sitting and staring at screens. How could such pathetic creatures pose any threat to the mighty Corvani Empire? Lieutenant Vex 7 stepped forward. She was the smallest of the squad, but still much larger than any human. Her 4 arms carried advanced weapons that could destroy a human city block. Her armor was black with red markings, showing her rank in the Corvani military. She had fought in 12 different planetary invasions and had never lost a battle captain. "The human is approaching the clearing where we planned the capture," she said in the Corvani language. Her voice was deep and rough like gravel. The universal translator would change her words to human language when needed. Good Zol 3 replied, "We will land in the clearing and wait for him. When he arrives, we will simply grab him and bring him to the ship for study. It should take less than 5 minutes. Human strength is negligible according to our research." The other 4 soldiers nodded in agreement. They were all veterans of many battles. They had conquered civilizations that were much more advanced than Earth. The Zentari had energy weapons. The Polthak had strong battle armor. The Killian could fly and had poison claws. But even with all those advantages, none of them had been able to stop the Corvani invasion. Sergeant Cax 4 checked his stunning device. It was designed to paralyze any life form without causing permanent damage, perfect for capturing specimens. The device looked like a silver rod with blue lights along the sides. He had used it on hundreds of different alien species, and it had never failed to work. Corporal Nix 2 and Corporal Dex 5 were the muscle of the group. Their job was to physically restrain targets if the stunning devices did not work. They were both incredibly strong even by Corvani standards. Each one could lift 3 tons without effort. They had thick armor plating and could survive most forms of attack. Private Yex 9 was the youngest member of the squad. This was only his second planetary invasion, but he was eager to prove himself to his superiors. He carried extra equipment including medical scanners to make sure captured specimens stayed healthy during transport. The ship began to descend toward the forest clearing. The captain had chosen this spot carefully. It was about 2 kilometers into Daeho's usual running route, far enough from the city that no other humans would see what happened. The clearing was surrounded by thick trees and had no security cameras or witnesses. Meanwhile, Daeho continued running through the forest completely, unaware of the alien ship landing ahead of him. He was feeling good today. His pace was steady and his breathing was controlled. He was thinking about a problem at work that he needed to solve. A piece of computer code was not working correctly. He had been trying to fix it for 3 days. The forest path was beautiful this morning. Sunlight was filtering through the green leaves, making patterns on the dirt trail. Small birds flew from branch to branch, singing their morning songs. Somewhere, nearby, a stream was flowing over rocks. The sound was peaceful and calming. Daeho had been running the same route for so many years that he knew every turn, every hill, every tree. He could probably run it blindfolded. His feet found the best spots to step, automatically avoiding roots and rocks. His body moved with smooth efficiency, born from thousands of hours of practice. He was about 3 kilometers into his run when he started to hear that strange humming sound again. It was louder this time and seemed to be coming from directly ahead of him instead of above. He slowed down a little, wondering what could be making such an odd noise. The sound stopped suddenly. Everything went quiet. Even the birds stopped singing. The forest felt different. Somehow wrong, dangerous Daeho had spent enough time in nature to trust his instincts. When something felt wrong, it usually was wrong. He rounded a bend in the trail and stopped dead in his tracks. The clearing ahead of him was not empty like it should be. A large silver ship sat in the middle of the open space. It was about the size of a school bus but shaped like a teardrop. The surface was perfectly smooth and reflected the morning sunlight like a mirror. 6 massive creatures stood in front of the ship. They were clearly not human. They were much taller than any person Daeho had ever seen. Each one had 4 arms instead of 2. Their skin was blue-gray and covered with what looked like natural armor plates. Their faces were longer than human faces, with larger eyes and sharp teeth. For a moment, Daeho thought he might be dreaming or hallucinating. Maybe the stress at work was getting to him. Maybe he had been running too hard and not eating enough. But the creatures were definitely real. He could see them breathing. He could hear their voices as they talked to each other in a language he had never heard before. The largest creature noticed him first. It pointed one of its 4 arms in his direction and said something in the alien language. The others turned to look at him. Their eyes were large and dark and completely focused on him like predators studying prey. Captain Zol 3 activated his universal translator and spoke in English. "Human, you will come with us. Do not attempt to run or resist. You will not be harmed if you cooperate." The alien's voice was deep and mechanical, sounding like it was coming from a computer. The words were clear, but the accent was strange. Daeho had never heard anything like it. The creature was clearly intelligent and clearly not from Earth. Daeho felt his heart start beating faster, but it was not from fear. It was from something else. Something he had not felt in a long time since his military service days. It was the feeling of being in danger, real danger. The feeling that made his body prepare for action. The smart thing to do would be to run away as fast as possible, back toward the city where there were other people who could help. But something inside Daeho refused to run. He had never run from a fight in his life, and he was not going to start now, even against impossible odds. "I do not think so." he said in a calm, steady voice. His hands moved to his sides, automatically falling into a fighting stance he had learned 20 years ago in the army. His weight shifted to the balls of his feet. His muscles tensed, ready for action. The aliens looked at each other in confusion. They had expected the human to either run away screaming or fall down in terror. Instead, this small creature was standing his ground and seemed to be preparing to fight. That made no sense according to their research. Lieutenant Vex 7 laughed a harsh sound, like rocks grinding together. Captain, this human thinks it can fight us. Should we stun it now or let it tire itself out? First, Captain Zol 3 was curious about human behavior. He wanted to see what this creature would actually do. Perhaps watching it struggle would provide useful information for the invasion. Let it try, he said. We need to understand human psychology. The aliens had no idea what they were about to witness. They thought they were dealing with a weak, frightened creature, but Daiho was not weak and he was not frightened. He was a man who had been training for combat his entire adult life. A man who had served in special forces, a man who had earned black belts in multiple martial arts, a man who ran 10 kilometers every day and had the stamina of a marathon runner. What the aliens saw was just an ordinary human in running clothes. What they did not see was 20 years of taekwondo training, 5 years of judo, 8 years of boxing, 2 years of military combat training, a lifetime of discipline and dedication to physical fitness. Daiho took a deep breath and prepared himself for battle. He was outnumbered 6-1. The enemies were twice his size and clearly had advanced technology. But he had something they did not expect. He had the fighting spirit of a human being who refused to give up. The first alien soldier stepped forward confident that this would be easy. They were about to learn that humans were much more dangerous than they looked. Kim Dae-ho woke up at exactly 5:15 in the morning, just like he had done every single day for the past 10 years. His small apartment in Seoul was quiet and dark. The city outside was still sleeping, but Dae-ho was already moving. He rolled out of his simple bed and walked to the window. The sky was dark gray with just a tiny bit of light showing in the east. He looked at his reflection in the bathroom mirror. A normal face looked back at him. Nothing special about Kim Dae-ho. He was 35 years old with short black hair and brown eyes. He was not tall or short, not big or small, just average in every way that mattered. He brushed his teeth, washed his face, and got ready for another day. But first came the most important part of his day. The morning run Dae-ho had been running every morning since he was 25 years old. It started when his doctor told him he needed more exercise. Back then he could barely run for 5 minutes without getting tired. Now he could run for hours without stopping. Running had become more than exercise for him. It was like meditation. It was peace. It was the best part of every day. He pulled on his old running shorts and his favorite blue t-shirt. The shirt was faded and had small holes in it, but it was comfortable. His running shoes were black and white and he had bought them 6 months ago. The old ones had holes in the bottom from running so much. He tied the laces tight and double knotted them. He never wanted his shoes to come off during a run. The apartment was small with just 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and a tiny kitchen. Dae-ho lived alone and liked it that way. He worked as a software engineer at a medium-sized tech company in Seoul. The work was boring, but it paid well enough for his simple life. He did not need much money. He did not buy expensive things or go to fancy restaurants. He just wanted to run and be healthy. He grabbed his house keys and his phone. He always brought his phone in case of emergency, but he never used it during runs. He liked to be alone with his thoughts. The hallway outside his apartment was quiet. His neighbors were all still sleeping. He walked down 3 flights of stairs instead of taking the elevator. More exercise was always good. The morning air hit his face as he stepped outside. It was cool and fresh. Spring was starting and the air smelled clean. The streets were empty except for a few early delivery trucks and one old man walking his small dog. Dae-ho loved this time of day when the world was quiet and peaceful. He started walking toward the forest park. It was about 10 minutes away from his apartment building. The park had several running trails that went through thick trees and around a small lake. Daeho knew every path, every tree, every rock. He had run these trails thousands of times, but he never got bored. The forest was always a little different depending on the season and the weather as he walked. He thought about his day ahead at work. He would sit at his computer and write code for 8 hours. It was not exciting work, but he was good at it. His coworkers were nice enough, but he did not hang out with them after work. He preferred to be alone. Most people thought he was shy or antisocial, but that was not true. He just liked quiet, simple things. The entrance to the forest park came into view. It was marked by 2 stone pillars and a wooden sign that said, Forest Park, in Korean and English. A narrow paved path led into the trees disappearing around a bend. Daeho had run this path so many times he could do it with his eyes closed. He stopped at the entrance and did his stretching routine. First, he stretched his legs. He put one foot up on a wooden fence and leaned forward to stretch his hamstring muscles. Then he switched legs. He rolled his ankles in circles. He stretched his arms over his head and twisted his back. These stretches were important. They kept him from getting injured. While he stretched, he looked up at the sky. The sun was starting to rise and the gray clouds were getting lighter. It looked like it would be a nice day for running. No rain in the forecast and not too hot. Spring weather was perfect for running. Not too cold like winter and not too hot like summer day. Ho started his watch. It was a simple digital watch that timed his runs and counted his steps. He liked to keep track of how far he ran and how fast. He was not trying to be a professional runner. He just wanted to stay healthy and challenge himself a little bit. His best time for 5 kilometers was 22 minutes and 30 seconds. He was proud of that time. He took a deep breath and started running. His feet hit the paved path with a steady rhythm. Left foot right, foot left, foot right foot. The sound was like music to him. His breathing was calm and controlled. He had learned over the years how to breathe properly while running. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Nice and steady. The path led him into the forest. The trees on both sides were tall and green. New leaves were growing everywhere because spring was starting. Birds were singing in the branches above him. The sound of his footsteps mixed with the bird songs. It was like nature was making music just for him. About 500 meters into the forest, the paved path split into 3 different trails. One went left toward the lake. One went right up a small hill. The middle path went straight deeper into the forest. Daeho always took the middle path. It was his favorite. It went through the thickest part of the forest where the trees blocked out most of the sky. As he ran deeper into the forest, he felt his body warming up. His muscles were loose and ready. His breathing was steady. His mind was clear. This was why he loved running so much. Everything else in life could be stressful or boring or complicated, but running was simple. Just put one foot in front of the other and keep going. The middle path was dirt and leaves instead of pavement. It was softer on his feet and made less noise. He could hear the forest sounds better, the birds singing, the wind moving through the leaves. Somewhere in the distance, water was flowing in a small stream. He had been running for about 15 minutes when he noticed something strange. There was a sound above him that he had never heard before. It was like humming or buzzing, but much louder than any insect. It seemed to be coming from up in the sky above the trees. He slowed down a little and looked up. The trees were thick and he could only see small patches of sky between the leaves. The sound was definitely there, and it was definitely not normal. It was not an airplane. Those sounded different. This was more like a machine humming or vibrating. He stopped running completely and stood still listening. The sound seemed to be moving slowly across the sky from east to west. It was not very loud, but it was steady and constant. Daeho had lived in this area for 10 years and had never heard anything like it. He thought maybe it was some kind of military helicopter or a drone doing training exercises. After about 30 seconds, the sound faded away. Whatever it was had moved on. Daeho shrugged his shoulders and started running. Again, he was curious about the strange sound, but he did not want to waste time standing around. He had a schedule to keep and 5 kilometers to finish. What Deho did not know was that 6 pairs of alien eyes had been watching him from a ship, high above the forest. The owners of those eyes were very interested in this human who ran alone through the forest every morning. They had been studying him for 3 days now. They thought he looked like the perfect specimen for their research. The aliens were called Corvani, and they had traveled across the galaxy to reach Earth. They were tall and strong with 4 arms each and natural armor covering their bodies. They had conquered 47 other worlds, and they thought Earth would be easy. Their plan was simple: capture a few humans, study them, learn their weaknesses, then invade and take over the planet. They had chosen this forest because it was quiet and away from the big city. They had chosen Deho because he was alone every morning and seemed like an ordinary weak human. They had no idea that this ordinary-looking human was about to change everything. They thought they knew about the people of Earth. Captain Zol III, the leader of the alien squad, watched Deho through his high-tech binoculars. The human looked so small and fragile. How could such weak creatures have built cities and technology? It made no sense to him. But orders were orders. He needed to capture 1 human for study, and this runner would do perfectly. Alien ship moved silently through the clouds following Deho as he ran through the forest. The Corvani had technology that made their ship invisible to human eyes and silent to human ears. They could watch and wait for the perfect moment to strike down. Below, Deho kept running, completely unaware that his normal morning routine was about to become the most important day in human history. He was just thinking about work and wondering what he would eat for breakfast after his run. He had no idea that in just a few minutes his life and the life of every person on Earth would change forever.